Hi guys, Herbalist40 here, and welcome back to Herb's What Ifs episode 2. So for today's episode, we're going to be concentrating on a suggestion which was given to me by one of my subs, and that is Ryan Leeke. So big shouts out to you, man. Trust me, I think I'm going to blow your mind on what you've given me. I don't think you have any idea of how big it really is. So without any further ado, we're going to be taking a look at 2 episodes today, one of The Simpsons and one of American Dad. So, first of all, we're going to be taking a look at American Dad, episode 12, season 12, and it aired on March 30th, 2015, and the episode was called The Shrink. Okay, so I'm going to be jumping through the scenes which are most important and which have the most correlation to the game. So for the first one here, this is shortly after the beginning of the episode. Stan decides to get a taxi, and as you can see, the first taxi he approaches here is a yellow one, but he's confronted by a young couple who play the young couple card to actually take his taxi off him. As you're going to see in the next scene, the second taxi that pulls up is in fact a green one. Now I'm only going to skim the surface on this one because I'm pretty sure that Wispy Woods is going to be covering this topic very soon, but at numerous occasions during our storyline we are confronted with a choice between 2 vehicles, and 2 different coloured vehicles to be precise. So the first one he went to was a yellow one, and the second one that came along was a green one because of the young couple. The first one was made unavailable to him. Now what's interesting here is that it kind of brings on, I suppose I'm just going to call it a little detail. This isn't really something quite as concrete as what I've got to show you in the next few minutes, but it's this death count, and this death count basically appears when the young couple take the yellow cab, it drives off, and they pretty much die immediately, with this death count sign falling on top of them, and it goes from 23 to 24. And I brought up in my last video a little connection, a similar little connection about the number 24. The most interesting thing, though, about this particular scene is the fact that it kind of gives you a little bit of insight about choices and the effects that follow. So he was gallant, he allowed the young couple to have his taxi, and therefore survived death, because had he been in the taxi in their place, had he said, no, fuck you, it's mine, he would be dead by now. And this triggers some emotional problems with Stan, and along with some stupid comments from his family, this triggers a facial tic, which I'm just going to point out. It's his left eye that keeps closing and twitching. So Stan basically ends up coming down to his therapist, and the therapist is called Dr. Ray Petit, and obviously he's a shrink, and his name being Ray and Petit being small in French. The whole episode here, as far as the cartoon itself goes, is based on a lot of wordplay and humour on the fact that the shrink Ray, you'll see what I mean in just a second. But what I'm really here to point out is that, first of all, note that Stan is always in a navy blue suit, okay? And second of all, I'm just going to give you a couple of comparisons, or one in particular, one comparison of the script in American Dad between Stan and his therapist, Dr. Ray Petit, and the script in GTA 5 between Michael and his therapist, Dr. Isaiah Friedlander, yep. And I just want you to keep a little bit of an open mind, because there is such a thing as wordplay. But when I start bringing the details into context, I really feel that you'll understand what I mean by the connections being massive here. First, I do want to point out, though, that as far as the physical resemblance goes between the 2 therapists or shrinks, it's pretty similar as far as the facial hair and the posture go. Anyway, here we go. Pay attention.
I mean, I've seen death before, tons of times. It didn't bother me. This just felt so random.
Would you have felt better if this couple had, say, died at your hands? Any other violent urges, friend?
Yeah. Even on the way over here, I think I killed someone. And you know what? I don't care.
Right, I tried to make it as obvious as possible, but that's what I mean by wordplay. Let me tell you, there are a hell of a lot more similar incidences between Michael's conversations and that one conversation between Stan and his psychiatrist, as if you look at the whole of Michael's conversations with his shrink throughout the game, there's a few other elements that fit into that one single conversation between Stan and his shrink. The main one, and I'm not going to have you listen to them all because it's not the easiest thing to actually edit this all together, and I've been at it for pretty much 2 days now to start with. But one of the things Stan Shrink says to him is, "Are you familiar with chaos theory?" And if you don't believe me, you can go and check it out for yourself. But Michael has a conversation with his shrink, and it's the second one, and the actual mission is called Chaos. And within that, his shrink says something along the lines of Michael attracting chaos and also being addicted to chaos. It's very, very similar. So we've got the physical side and we've got the written/spoken side. We also have all the times where Michael's psychiatrist or therapist basically asks him to pay and contribute more and more and more money towards him and his needs, and this happens also a lot between Stan and his therapist, who encourages Stan to buy a particular miniature model set of a particular brand that he receives funding from. So by having Stan buy this model set, as you can see here, he will be giving more money towards his shrink. Now, as you can see now, there's the shrink ray crate in front of you on the screen, and that was what I meant by the whole wordplay between the shrink being called Ray and Petit, etc. But there's a lot more detail to bring up here, so I'm just going to move on. So Stan follows his shrink's advice and ends up spending a lot of money on this miniature model set and the shrink ray gun to actually shrink himself down and isolate himself in a world where he has complete control. And this is all based upon his shrink's advice, and there's also links towards Michael and control and what his shrink tells him about having control of his life and what scares Michael, etc. But the point here is that the first scene, as you can see now, is that Stan is holding a toothpick, but they refer to it as being his cane, and at one point he also casts away this cane. So that's another very interesting point that I'm sure you can all relate to. Now, the next image is going to be of Stan's son, who is basically picking up a dumpster truck and talking a lot about the union and impersonating a garbage disposal employee. But the point is that I'm going to ask you now to bear with me through till the end of this particular episode, because what I have in the end will help explain everything that I'm putting across right now. So some things, yes, they do connect, but not as importantly as you imagine. Just hold on till the end. A lot of things will make more sense once you've watched the full episode. Right, I want you all to know, before I go any further, that as I'm making this video, I'm having to cut more and more stuff out. And that is because there is so many connections here that there's no way I can actually fit them all into this one clip without this becoming a feature film documentary or something along those lines anyway. But go check out the episodes for yourself. I'm going to carry on here with the most important things, but just take my word for it, there's a lot more than what you're going to see in the rest of the video. But anyway, the image you're looking at now is what connects to Stan's son grabbing the dumpster truck, and this is all going to make a lot more sense at the end. Again, but we have the GTA Online heist setup mission Trash Truck, where we are part of the union, and we go and pick up trash, which is i.e. drugs or money or whatever was in them. I can't actually remember, but the point is that once again this connects, and I will make it connect even more at the end. Right, so after a while, Stan's family comes down and has a little chat with him, as you can see here. And basically, what ends up happening is he says he's really happy in his miniature world and he wants his family to come along with him. They, of course, don't want to, they think he's crazy. Pretty similar to Michael's family in the reaction to whatever Michael says. They're always saying that no one really agrees with him, and there's a lot of struggles going on there. But basically, to keep it simple, uh, he says something that's very interesting. He says that he constructed some sort of mechanism based on Da Vinci's work, speaking about Leonardo da Vinci. And again, I'm not going to go into the detail, but for those of you who actually know a lot about this hunt, Da Vinci is one of the philosophers that's come up many times before in our research. Okay, so next up, I'm just going to bundle the most important connections of all in this particular episode of American Dad, because when I say there's many more, there really is, and these are just the major ones, and it's taken so long already, it's unreal. But basically, I'm just going to quickly play you a clip which is going to kind of explain the biggest link of all, or the one that you're going to like the most in any case. So here we go.
Kids, I need you to turn off the clock tower and then get to high ground. You might recognize it as the clock tower from Back to the Future. Well, almost that clock tower. It's just different enough. The people at Thompson know how to play the game.
Right, so I'm sure you all know, I'm sure you're all kind of at least half experienced hunters watching these videos, but the Textile City mural telling us how we should or shouldn't play the game, I don't see if you see the connection there. Again, I don't really have the time to go into all the detail I'd like to go into, but I'm just going to point out that in this particular episode of American Dad, in Stan's miniature world, along with this miniature Back to the Future clock tower that you can see now, and I'm going to point out that the colour in the middle, the blue, is very interesting. Yet another connection in my opinion. But there's a train in his miniature world and it doesn't stop. The only way to get on it is to jump on it. Remind you of any game we know? GTA, for example? I don't know. Like, how many connections do I have to make? And the major point here is, next time someone tells you that this is bigger than GTA and you look at them as if they're an idiot, come on. If you don't want to see, then you don't want to see. Move along, go away. But is this not enough for you, for fuck's sake? In some mad case, it isn't enough. I'm just going to throw the last few really big ones out there just so you have all the proof you need that this is real. The shrink dies, as you'll see in the image in just 2 seconds. He gets his head chopped off and then he gets eaten by an ant, a giant ant, obviously, because he shrunk himself down into Stan's world. They also mention the dam, which you can see here, and by actually crashing the train into the dam, that would be their way out. Another major connection is, as you can see here, red wine. We're confronted throughout the whole episode with red wine. And the final one is they call upon Roger, the alien, to destroy the dam for them. Okay, so this is even getting a little bit too much for me to stay concentrated on right now, so I'm literally going to skip the whole Simpsons episode and just break it down into one sentence or a couple of sentences for you. It involves a jetpack. The episode is called Sky Police, and basically Marge at the end of the episode says something very similar to what you just heard about playing the game. And you're going to probably sit there and say to me, okay, it's all fine, you can make hypothetical connections to the game with these. Have you got any evidence or any proof that these episodes are linked with the game physically itself? Like, is there anything that correlates the element of these two episodes and the element of Grand Theft Auto 5? And simply the answer to that is yes, I have just enough to make this correlate and make this even more credible than it was with all the links that I've already given to you. I'll do my best to have annotations come up on the screen as I go through this. It's a little bit of numerology. I'm going to keep it short, sweet and simple. Okay, so I told you that American Dad, Season 12, Episode 12, which is what we've just reviewed, came out on March 30th, 2015, okay? There is 20 days between the Heist release and American Dad, the Shrink episode, okay? So Heists were released on March 10th. 20 days later, this episode of American Dad came out. Now, I skipped the Simpsons episode, but here's what I'm going to point out about that. The Simpsons, Sky Police, which is the episode I was supposed to go into just as much detail as this on, and I probably will in the future, but it will have to wait. Anyway, The Simpsons, Sky Police is episode 16, season 26, and overall number 568 out of the whole season. Now, episode 16, 1-6. Season 26, 2-6. 1-6-2-6-6-6-6. Okay? Let me just start off with that. Now, again, The Simpsons Sky Police actually came out 2 days. It came out on March the 8th, 2015. So that's 2 days before Heists. Okay? So you have 2 days before, March the 10th. So 2 times 10, 20. 20 days. We have American Dad. I know it seems a little bit irrational, but when you have it in front of you, it makes sense. Now, I'm also going to point out that I don't know if you've even stopped to look at this, but listen, September 17th, 2013, old gen GTA was released. November 18th, 2014, current gen GTA was released. April 14th, 2015, PC Microsoft version was released. We have 3 separate years and 3 separate editions of the same game, and they bring out a knife with the Trinity sign on it. If you don't want to see the connections, again, that's your problem. Feel free to go and play Hello Kitty Adventure Island, or I don't know, whatever. I really don't care. But watch any one of my videos, watch any one of Wispy's videos, and that should just be enough to prove that there's more to this than what you might imagine. But what's being brought to the table in this particular episode, I believe, is if you don't want to see it, well, then you just will never see it. It's up to you. It's your fault. It's not anyone else's. Okay, guys, so I think to say the very least, in this episode, I have given you, if not anything else, I've at least given you the incentive to go and check these 2 episodes out. Trust me, it's not even that difficult to spot the things that I didn't mention. There's just too much to include in one episode and one explanation. But coming back to Ryan Leeke, man, thank you so much for bringing this to me. This is exactly what I was waiting for from my subscribers. I was waiting for ideas like this. Now I'm just going to quickly point out that I spent literally, I shit you not, over 2 days now putting this video together. Just putting the video together. And the reason I put so much effort into making this video was to prove a point. Is that I'm not selfish, and I'm not ignorant to anyone else's ideas. I'm not going to sit here and try and make out that I'm the only one with the answers, because that is not the case. I've said it before and I will say it again. It is a question of a community coming together and sharing thoughts and trying to understand each other's points of views. And I do throw a lot of quotes and a lot of hints towards unity and just general agreement and understanding here and there, and I hope you guys do pick up on that. I'm working on my Kubrick stuff, but as you can see, just for a 20-minute episode of American Dad, it's literally a nightmare. So you can imagine that actually making my way through the whole of Stanley Kubrick's works and trying to link those to the games is a whole different task. But anyway, I hope you enjoy the content. I hope you appreciate the effort. If any of you guys are new, you can feel free to subscribe. I'm not badgering you to, but it does mean a lot. Anyway, again, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you get the full drift of what I was trying to bring to you here. And as usual, guys, take it easy. See ya.